Hello and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max. I am your host, Sean Garmer, here with me, as per usual, Mr. Mark Morrison. How are
Howdy.
you?
All right.
Well, we got some big games to talk about here as finally Call of Duty Black Ops 6 has released and it's on Game Pass. So I have been playing it. I've played, I think, like part of the campaign. I don't know how far I am into the campaign, but I played at least 3 or 4 missions at this point. And so I'll get into my impressions on that. Well, Marc is pretty far. He says he's almost done with Metaphor ReFantazio, so we'll talk about that. I can finally say that I've been playing Shadows of the Damned Hella Remastered, so I'll talk about that as well, even though it technically doesn't come out until Halloween. Uh, but yeah, we just can't. Apparently, you can do. They did the written embargo, and you can talk about it, but you can't do like streaming video.
Right.
So we'll get into that also. Some interesting news with Ubisoft again, who apparently cannot escape the bad news. Um, and maybe some of it's good news, depending on if you like a certain game that they make. And then there's also some interesting news regarding the libraries and how they can give you access to games. Should Killzone make a comeback? And more. We'll get into all those things right after this.
You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
All right. Well, just so we can get this out of the way here quickly, the housekeeping for this week. Make sure you I mean, we do appreciate whether you listen live, whether you watch later, whether you listen later, whether you watch us on clips. All of that is helpful. Thank you to everybody that does watch or listen. You can help us even more by subscribing to the YouTube channel, W2 Network, which you can use that to watch live. You can also watch live on our Facebook or Twitch, W2 Network there as well. Or you can just subscribe and watch whenever you want. You'll get a notification if you ring that bell, and you'll know when we do a show. But also when you subscribe to us, you get our other shows that we do on the network, which one of them is a terrific anime show that goes over all the new anime coming out each week. So you definitely want to check them out if you're into the new anime, and especially with at least the ones I'm watching weekly right now, Dragon Ball Daima and Dan Dan Dan. They're good, or Dan to Dan, sorry. They are both really good, especially that episode 4 of Dan to Dan was awesome. So I'm hooked on both those. They'll be talking about those along with the other stuff that comes out every week. So make sure you watch, check them out, and then also if you like the entertainment movie stuff, we got the Rally Broadcasting people. They are pretty. They cover pretty much everything that has to do with that. Make sure you go check them out. Pretty much anytime there's a new movie that's of any consequence, they're reviewing it that next week. They're that dedicated. They're awesome. Go check them out. You can listen to all those on pods as well, podcasts. So make sure you give them a listen if you prefer instead of doing YouTube. And yeah, like I said, we are doing clips as well, so you can check us out on the TikTok, on the YouTube channel. It's on there, on Instagram, all that. You can find them through there. So yeah, that's all the promotion for this week. I guess let's go ahead and start with the games here. I guess might as well start with that Call of Duty. That obviously, if you're on the Xbox or anything but PlayStation side, you now have access to it by just paying the $17 a month. Even though honestly, at some point, if you're a Call of Duty fan, that's your one game you're buying every year. You already bought it on whatever system or thing that you play it on normally. So I don't know that Game Pass does a whole lot for you, but for the people that already have Game Pass and don't usually play Call of Duty, or just like me that don't want to invest $70 for a campaign, uh, hey, gives me an opportunity to try it because I do like the campaigns. The last one I played was, well, you played one more recent than me because you reviewed Cold War.
Right.
Um, I had both you and Jens review Cold War,
Yeah.
and then you got that's when I played in full. I think was Infinite Warfare. So it's been a
That
while
was
for
like
me.
that was I think like damn near 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Almost that long since I reviewed a Call of Duty. So yeah,
You're a big fan of the franchise.
well, it's just like I don't, it's one of those where it's like, okay, you never know when Activision is going to give you a code or not, and you don't want to go and say, okay, I want to review the game. They don't give it to you, and then it's like, okay, I'm stuck paying $70 for this game that I'm going to play for 6 or 7 hours and then never touch it again. So
No, when you say I want to review the game and they say you don't get a code, then like, well, I guess I'm not going to review the game then.
yeah, but yeah, so it's to me. I mean, most of y'all probably know at this point if you're a Call of Duty fan, it's based off of the Gulf War. They have all the stuff with the political stuff in there, showing the different presidents that were around during the time or making comments. Obviously, Daddy Bush, George H.W. Bush around that time. So I've only played like the first like 4 missions. And what I do like is that it feels like every mission feels different, even though they're connected by the hub that you go into, which is cool, right? They have a hub that your characters will go into, woods and the like, and you'll kind of go through the like mission structure beforehand, like kind of give you like the investigative stuff, the setup, all that, and then you go into the next mission, and each one of them feel different. Like it does encourage you to be like stealthy, but I didn't feel like I was being punished necessarily if I didn't want to be. Right, I could still go in guns blazing. Obviously, you're just gonna have to deal with taking out more enemies and stuff like that. I liked throwing my knife at people, which was fun. That was cool. There's one that feels like a survival horror game because it's all dark, and you're like sneaking around that way. And I haven't gotten to it yet, but I have seen it. It's one that looks like it should have come out of control with all the phasing in and out and different kind of time changes and all of that. That looks really awesome too. So
Yeah,
I'm excited to get to that.
the bastion of military realism shooter.
Supposedly there was something similar to that in like Cold War as well. I don't know if you remember, but there's like a level like that and then like the hub is also similar to Cold War supposedly.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But it's getting a lot of rave reviews as far as the campaign goes, like probably one of the better ones in Call of Duty's history. I'm enjoying it so far. So I know that's kind of been a mixed bag.
After some of the last 2, it couldn't get much worse. I mean,
oh yeah, of course. Like what last year's was like 2 hours.
Yeah,
and people were complaining about that. So,
and everyone hated Vanguard.
Yeah, Vanguard. I mean, then they redid Modern Warfare, which credit to them for the hub that they have now that lets you. So when you download the game, I mean, let's say you're downloading it on Game Pass and you haven't played, you're like me, you haven't played Call of Duty in a while. There's a hub now that you have to download first, and then it allows you to choose which game that's on Game Pass, which is Modern Warfare 2, 3, and Black Ops 6, that you want to download. And then you can decide to only download either the multiplayer or the campaign or whatever. So you're not having to download the whole 300 gig file, which is great because most people don't just have, unless you just don't play any games, don't have that much space probably on your system without deleting a bunch of other stuff. So I appreciate that. It was only so in total, I probably have around 90 gigs between the hub and the campaign downloaded.
Right.
And yeah, way better for my system than what it normally would have been to get everything where it makes you download it all. So
yeah,
props to Activision and all them for doing it that way. I'll keep plugging away. My plan was to hopefully actually try to finish it on Sunday, but then I had a lot of stuff happen on Sunday where I had to go help out a friend instead of get to play this. So But yeah, I'm enjoying it, and y'all that play the multiplayer and zombies and all that, I'm sure y'all are enjoying it too. That's, I'm sure, similar to the other years that it has been around. There might be new things, but I haven't tried that out yet. If I do at all,
It's a lot quicker because I played
yeah,
that open beta, and it's like
yeah, because
fast.
don't they have that like new shadow motion or something like
Yeah, you can
that?
like
Or, yeah,
dodge anywhere or run in any direction, and also like dodge and do shit like that. So
yeah. The other game that I haven't been able to talk about till today that I've been playing, Shadows of the Damned Hella Remastered, which is
fi-
an old 360
you, you
PS3 game.
you finally get to talk about your big boner, huh?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And they mentioned boners pretty much a lot in that
Yeah,
game if you haven't
that's
played
just
it
why I bring it
before.
up. Yeah, like
Uh,
like the first time you get the gun, you're yelling about it.
exactly. So I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna say that I reviewed that game when it came out originally, back in like 2009, 2010 ish.
Yeah,
So of course you can't find it on the internet now because 411 wipes their website every year. That's their decision. Not gonna get into that. But
that's what the Internet Archive is for.
yeah, but it just still sucks because it's like when you're like us, you go and write for other places and you say, "Oh, I write for this place." It's kind of difficult to go and prove that when you go to the site and none of your stuff is there.
Yeah,
So either way, the whole point is that's how long both Mark and I have been doing this. That game is from that era, and they didn't change anything about it being from that era. The game is the same game. So the stuff that was cool back in that time is not going to be cool now. So it's going to be weird for people that are not used to hearing that in a video game in a while. Um, they're going to talk a lot about boners. Everything is going to be some kind of sexual innuendo because that's how that game is. His name is Garcia effing Hotspur, for goodness sakes. That's what the main character's name is. And he has the heavy, I guess you call it Mexican accent, Latino accent, and he uses that quite a bit in the game. Obviously, it's set up pretty easily here. Your girlfriend gets taken by this demon. You have to go all the way to hell to get her back, and you have to deal with what happens when you go to hell, basically.
yeah,
I love the character design and all this. All the different monsters that you deal with are pretty unique, honestly. The gunplay, because Shinji Mikami is an executive producer of this game. Suda51 is the creative lead of this game, so it's a Suda game. So for y'all that like those Suda, that's one of his joys, along with the Lollipop Chainsaw that came out around that era. So the gunplay is terrific in this game. It plays very much like similar to like Resident Evil 4 kind of thing. And it has a lot. It's a video game, if you want to call it that, right? It has the like big weak spots for you to hit, and the big things that you have to like the big goat that you have to hit so that the light comes back on, and it just makes it very obvious what you have to do. Big ass QTEs in your face, but you can't turn those off if you don't want them. But has the yellow paint before the yellow paint was made a big deal nowadays. All that.
yeah,
So if it wants you to finish its like 7-8 hour campaign, and then it wants you to replay it again because it's the only way you can platinum the game is to get you have to get all the red gems that are the upgrades that you get in the game, and all the guns have different sexual innuendos themselves. So you can go through that. It's really fun. I still remember having a lot of fun with it back then. It's still a lot of fun today. It just looks a little bit nicer, right? That's the problem with when you get to the PS3 360 gen. It's not that much of a visual upgrade compared to like, even if they just remastered Silent Hill 2, you'll be able to tell a much bigger
right.
upgrade than you will with the I had to look at a side by side to really be able to see what looks better in this game compared to what it used to look like back in the day. But yeah, it's a very good, still a very good game. It's not amazing out of this mind, out of your mind game, but it's priced adequately. Thankfully, they didn't try to overprice this thing. It's $30. I think for $30, it is well worth it for anybody that likes this kind of game. Just action shooter, have fun, kill things, with stupid story. And that's what this game is. And I think people will enjoy that if you enjoy those kind of games, honestly. If you don't, it's $30. You can easily just decide to not spend on that. And who knows, if it's on a sale, it might even go lower. Whatever. You never know with Black Friday. But yeah, happy that it's out there.
Too bad they didn't send you the limited run like special edition with the Johnson gun.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it does have the if you didn't like the talking whatever that is in Forspoken, Johnson, the talking head, talks all the time, and has a British accent, so just get ready. He's also going to make several sexual jokes as well, but again, that's what that game is. So it doesn't, when you're not used to that type of show or whatever, that you haven't watched in a long time, it is jarring, right? To like go back to that and go, oh my God, I remember how goofy, silly, and like over the top, like edgelordy this game is. And it just feels awkward because, you're an older, as an older person. I don't even know what the younger person would probably think about this, if that's cringe to them or not at this point. But considering
they aren't gonna play this.
Probably not. It's a total old school thing for sure. But yeah, I've enjoyed the crap out of it. I'm gonna for sure have the review done in a couple of days. And yeah. And that's pretty much it for me. As far as the things I've been playing. So you got further into Metaphor.
Yeah, I'm in the last month. So yeah, there are problems in that game that are emblematic of all Shin Megami Tensei games that I really dislike.
Okay.
Like there's no MP potion. I mean, there are some items that recover MP, but it's usually like such a small amount that it's almost like not even worth it. And it's like, why can't I just buy? Why can't ethers, or the equivalent of an ether, be an item I can just always buy?
Yeah, I mean, but I think that's the point, though. It wants you to go find all of the MP stuff.
But they're not plentiful. I mean, really, like that's the thing. It's like it's not like every dungeon has 2 or 3 that drop or anything. It's like barely, maybe 1. And it's like, well, I got these. There's like one, I think it's fruit cocktail you can buy in every town, but only like the water guy has them, and there's only like 3 ever, and they only recover 30 MP. And it's like, yo, how about you restock this every week, or like do something. And that's the other thing. This is a much shorter game than Persona.
Right, yeah, I've heard most people say it's like 80 hours.
Well, I don't even mean that. I just mean like in terms of like actual, like Persona's like a year-long game, pretty much, or at least like 9 months or something. This is like 3, maybe 4. But yeah, I'm still enjoying it. Yeah,
but I mean,
for sure.
The thing I wanted is like, isn't it the whole point is that they want you to try to figure out the archetypes that use more MP instead of just like spamming the item like you would? And
well, at this point, I have a there are synergy attacks where you have like multiple party members doing something, and it takes up multiple turns.
Right.
But I have one synergy attack that's like a really, I think it's a heavy almighty attack that requires 3 people, but it requires no MP. So I just keep spamming that over and over, and that
Okay,
works pretty
fair.
well. But I think there's like the mage archetype. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you kill someone on the overworld, like with the action combat, you recover
Yeah,
MP. But the mage archetype is also not physically strong. So what would take 1 or 2 slashes takes like 4 or 5 mage hits.
right.
And it's like this isn't great because it's a heavier chance that they'll attack me, and then I'll get stun locked with an ambush battle instead of a regular one. So good luck.
Don't you get to eventually where you can switch out the jobs?
Oh
Like
yeah, I can do
in
that now.
yeah,
Oh yeah, like after like the
right.
first month, I think you can do that, and you can like buy them just from the menu itself, which is helpful.
Oh, that's good too.
You
Yeah,
don't have
so
to
you
keep
don't
going
have
to
to.
academia or the velvet room basically.
Right.
But yeah, it's still just a problem that MP, you just don't get a ton of it, and you have to get to like the end of. There are a lot of one-off dungeons, like explore this cave system or something. And so okay, that's fine, but to get to the boss, I'm burning up half my MP or whatever to get to this thing. So good luck.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying it. I'm not going to 100% it. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't because uh, you have to like replay the game to get like the platinum trophy. But I messed up a bunch, so I still I have like I think there's like 12 characters maybe to form relationships with. I have like 8 of them at maxed out, which isn't bad.
You're
And
probably
I'll do
gonna
the
be able to
rest.
max them all out, I bet.
I doubt it, because some are. I think at least one is tied to eloquence, one of the royal virtues, and mine is like really low.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
so I mean, I knew I was gonna have to play that game anyway, just to get the platinum trophy and whatever. But that's fine. And yeah, combat on easy is really easy, so that's good. You just
So
can't
you
dump
did
them.
drop it down to easy for the combat then?
Yeah, there
Oh,
was one boss. There was one not. It wasn't even a boss fight. I don't think. I think it might have just been a bounty hunt, but it took me like over an hour to do because
wow.
I kept like having to like restart and it kept screwing up kind of. So that's when I bumped it down to easy because I was like, I don't want to be here any longer, and I don't have a ton of MP to get back here, and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just like, all right, I'm just gonna bump it down to easy and plow through this thing.
Fair enough.
But I like it. Good game. I don't think it's like the best. I still think Persona 5 is like better. It's just as like story wise, and then like characters and stuff like that. But I like the gameplay mechanics of this a lot, except for like the limited MP usage.
I'm excited to start fully playing it. It's just
Yeah,
this month has been jam packed with stuff and not enough time to
right.
play it all. But I mean, and then looks like this month coming up, at least for me, with all the RPGs that are coming out, it's not going to be fun for trying to finish all that. But yeah. Anything else that?
I haven't played it yet, but I bought a copy of Forza Horizon 4 on PC or on Steam
Okay,
because they're going to delist it soon.
right.
So might as well. And I'm going to a retro gaming convention next week or next weekend.
Okay,
So that should be fun. I have a whole list of a fairly long list of crap I'm looking for that I know I won't be able to find.
well, hope you get at
Like
least some things you want.
I have 17 things in this list, and I'm lucky if I'll find 3.
Eh,
But
well, I'm yeah.
yeah,
No, I was saying, is there
what
anything like particular you looking for? Or?
the one thing I'll probably be able to find is a copy of Kirby's Dream Land 2 for the old Game Boy.
Oh, nice. Yes.
That's fairly common. That's like $20, $30. Some of the more stuff I'll never be able to find is like Pepsi Man for the PS1. the res copy with the trance vibrator for the PS2 in Japan. Castlevania Symphony of the Night for the Saturn.
Oh wow.
A game called, this actually came out in America, so that's how I know about it. But it's a game called Dai Senryaku 7 for the original Xbox. So that's
What
like
the
a
heck?
game that's, huh?
Like, what is that? Like, just
Ever play Advance Wars?
okay, yeah.
It's like that, only it had a story and like a lot more like a military bent to it. And I actually found that's not like an expensive game. That's like an $8, $9 game. I
Right.
found a copy of it at my local store like last week. I was looking around, and I looked at it and I'm like, wow, you actually have this. And I opened it up, and it didn't have the manual. And that's a game where you need the manual.
Yeah.
It's like this big ass thick thing that goes through all the unit types and all that crap. And I was like, God damn it! Like I would have bought it immediately, and the manual on itself was like $8 as well. So, or like $5. So it's like great. The other game I'm looking for, and it's a terrible game. I will readily admit it because I played it when I was a kid, like a dumbass. There's a game called Bebe's Kids for the Super Nintendo. It is one of the
Okay.
worst games ever made. It's a like beat 'em up platformer, like the Simpsons arcade machine, but
Yeah.
it's utterly broken and all the
Okay.
way awful. I want it because I had it as a kid. That's my reason for wanting it, but I've never seen a copy out in the wild in the past decade.
Well,
And then
maybe you'll get lucky.
then there's a few other expensive stuff. Like I would love to find a copy of a Game Boy Light. You know what that is?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Yeah, the Japanese Game Boy with like the weird like blue light. And then some other like smaller crap. A guy I know is he makes reproductions of Super Nintendo games, and he'll likely have a copy of Terra Enigma for sale. So I might grab that
Okay, nice.
because I've heard that's pretty well regarded.
Yeah, it's true.
But yeah, I'll go. Next week after my shopping spree. I'll let you know all I got.
Yeah, for sure. I'm hoping that they're supposed to put up some more of the PlayStation 5 the 30th anniversary stuff tomorrow. I'm hoping
Yeah,
I can get lucky with the controller
right.
that I'm
Oh,
still.
also, they are going to have a few guests at this thing, like gaming convention guests, and
Mhm.
it's like two of the guys are from Mortal Kombat, the original, like the actual mocap actors or the digitized actors, and the other guy is Tim Kitzrow. Ever heard of him?
I feel like I should know who that is, but
He was the announcer for NFL Blitz and
oh,
NBA
okay,
Jam.
yes, because I saw
Yeah,
him on the documentary that they had for Vice. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So I bought a manual for NBA Jam and one for Tournament Edition for the SNES, but I haven't gotten that one yet. But I'll probably have him sign it.
those are cool. Yeah,
Because actually, we have like a few like Midway friends in common. So,
yeah, that sounds
and it's
awesome.
funny because this convention, this is like my local convention. But there's another convention in like Ohio that's like a much bigger one that's happening on the same goddamn weekend, and it's like I mean,
You would
couldn't a
think they
smaller
would
one?
space those out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like couldn't a smaller one have planned this out a little better? Like,
right.
I doubt the convention center they're gonna have it in is like heavily uh busy all the time or anything like that. Like you could have had
Right.
this next weekend or the past weekend, but whatever. I mean, I guess next year if I go to these things, I'll probably go to the Ohio one just because it's bigger and they'll have more people there to sell crap.
Right.
But that's about it.
All right. Well, I guess let's go ahead and get into some news here. First off, because the embargo is up on it, obviously people that don't have which they did limited reviews for this. There's people complaining that they even went to the preview event and some people didn't get review codes for it. I'm talking about Dragon Age Veilguard.
Yep.
So it sits at a 84 and 83 Metacritic and OpenCritic respective, which is pretty good. mostly. There's some places giving it I saw Eurogamer gave it a 10, and like GameSpot and some other places gave it a 7. Skillup had one of the like most scathing reviews I think I've ever seen him give about the game kind of just being boring. But
it's funny you brought up
Yeah.
Metacritic, and it's like, Inquisition got a higher score than that.
yeah,
People don't like that one. So.
well, Inquisition was like a game of the year it came out. I mean, obviously it was a weak year for games too, but
Right.
still.
But it's funny because like Inquisition is like the one I like.
Yeah, it feels like from what I've the ones I've read and bought, because I don't know that this is one that I may wait until later in November.
It's not your type of game. Don't buy it.
I don't know. I keep feeling like there's people saying this is the one that you can get into if you're not like big into Dragon Age, because a lot of the choices don't seem to matter. But
if you're gonna get into like a Western RPG, just get into Baldur's Gate 3.
Baldur's Gate, okay, but isn't that like way off the deep end? Then
that has like no ties to like previous games.
Okay,
and also,
but I feel like this one doesn't really either. Like all the reviews said that you don't have to.
Half the party is from like previous games, like that stupid little dwarf man or whatever the fuck,
Right, but I mean, like it's not like it's saying, "Oh, well, you have to play Inquisition in order to play this," right? It's
sure.
Like, you can still kind of get it based off of and you're playing a created character anyway, so
right.
But yeah, I'm sure that this will cause a lot of furor between the idiot grifters and then also the people that are mad about one thing or the other with this game.
Yeah.
So, look, whether it wins awards or not, remember that those awards don't matter. It's whatever you choose for them to be. You don't have to take all that stuff so seriously. But moving on from Critic reviews to something else here. I feel like we can just never escape talking about Ubisoft. Ubisoft. I'm sorry. Got to say it right. This time, which I had to write, I wrote both the news story, wrote up both the news stories for Outer Haven for this, so it's like stuck in my head. The Prince of they had a like earlier this week, Prince of Persia: Lost Crown, there was a report coming out that they had disbanded the team that made the game, and they had pitched a second game, but it had been denied by Ubisoft, and they've actually shifted them over to other teams. One of them being the new Ghost Recon game. The other one is helping on some other game that I can't think of right this minute. And then a lot of them are moving over to another project that is in early development, which is a Rayman remake, which has been 11 years since the last Rayman game. He did appear in the Mario Rabbids 2 DLC or whatever, but he hasn't had his own game that's part of the actual, like the mainline series since 2013, which that one sold like 5 million copies. So, yeah, I mean, it's been a while, so it's cool that there's a new Rayman game in development, especially with feels like platformers are all the platforming. When you talk about like the different big time characters have all had a game, even if it's a collection recently, and Rayman's like the one that's been kind of left out. So that's good on that end. And also Michel Ancel, the creator, is back doing that, even though you could argue that like maybe it's not a good idea because every time he's been involved with a game, that game doesn't come out. We talk about Wild.
Good Evil 2 is just coming out any day now.
And thank you. That's the other game that some of the Montpellier people went over to work on. These still in development, Beyond Good and Evil 2, which Michel Ancel started being involved with, and look how that game has not come out yet. Remember Wilds or whatever that was supposed to be his next.
That did get canceled at least.
Yeah, it got canceled. So that's the point. It got canceled, and he's involved with it. So,
well, the problem is it got canceled like 6 years after they announced it, and it's like,
exactly.
It should have happened like a year after you announced it if you weren't serious or whatever.
So
But
it's
don't worry.
very unfortunate because go ahead. Sorry.
Once Joseph Gordon-Levitt takes over on Beyond Good and Evil 2, it'll all be worth it.
Exactly. Forgot that they had a game with him.
They didn't have a game, but he came out on stage and was like,
Yeah.
I want you to make content for this game. It's like, that's your responsibility. I mean, that's kind of Ubisoft's responsibility, not mine.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
fuck off. Like,
the thing that's unfortunate about this game is like it's their biggest critical success in a long while. When you look at their recent games, it just sold over 1 million. And the rest of the stuff of why it didn't sell, supposedly it did not meet sales expectations, is the the word flavor of the day for publishers. I don't know how, because this is a Metroidvania. When do Metroidvania sell amazingly well? Metroid is Metroid, right?
The problem is like, well, there's two problems. First of all, it came out like $60, which
or 50, but yes,
Metroid can get away with because it's like a big brand, kind of, and
it's
that has
tied
also
to Nintendo.
It's also been a game that like people have wanted for 20 years. I mean, they haven't been a proper Metroid game since Super Metroid.
But even then, didn't the remaster come out for cheaper? Wasn't it like 40?
Yeah.
So I mean, Dread. Okay, that's a new game. That makes sense.
That came out like later, I think, after Metroid Dread. But
exactly.
Also, like, what is Ubisoft's? Whenever you bring up like a company going like, "Oh, didn't meet sales expectations," my thought is always, what is it? What is the expectation for this thing to sell 20 million copies? Like, no game does that except for like maybe Call of Duty or Madden, but that's it.
I understand that Prince of Persia is a franchise for them, but think about the last time you came up with a Prince of Persia game. The series was on a decline at that point. Like, you're coming back in a genre that, yes, it's sort of similar to the way it was originally, but not the way people have remembered playing it, because it's not what the previous Prince of Persia games were.
And they can't even get that Prince of Persia remake off the ground.
Exactly. Yeah. They had to restart it, and it's not coming out for maybe 2 years, if that.
Yeah.
So it does. And then you just delayed Assassin's Creed Shadows. Like, it's just like you had the terrible Skull and Bones this year. Like, you've had this is the only good news you as a company have had all year. And then you come out with DLC, and maybe that didn't spark the sales bonanza you wanted it to spark. But it's like, this is your fault. You chose to keep it off of Steam for 7 months. And that's whether you like it or not, whether you like not giving Steam their 30% or not. When you talk about discoverability, time and time again, the platform that pushes that, besides the Switch, is Steam. And you don't bring it out on Steam from word go, you're going to suffer for it. People are going to wait. How many times does this have to continue to happen for people to get it? That people will wait for it to show up on Steam and not buy it on these other platforms. Even if it's stupid and it's just a launcher or whatever, people have their platform of choice, and they won't buy it on Epic or much less the Ubisoft's launcher Connect thing. Whatever. You wanted people to pay for it, which this is the way I played it with the streaming service. So I didn't buy the game because I spent $17 and just played the game. And then, okay, I was going to do like you, buy it on a sale later. But that's their fault. Again, you decided to promote this stuff instead of telling people, hey, go buy it for $50 right now, or how about you release it for less, because most Metroidvanias don't cost that much. I know it's about, okay, all the stuff you put into the game and the graphical quality and all that stuff, and it's a great game, and sure, you can price whatever you want, but again, like you said, it matters to people, especially when it's Ubisoft and people are used to Ubisoft puts their games on sale really fast, and there's a lot of people that are going to say, okay, I'll wait for that. And also, the other kicker that we haven't mentioned yet is Power World took all of its oxygen out of the room. The next week, after everybody was lauding the game and talking about how awesome it is, immediately it felt like the weekend it came out, everybody was already started talking about Power World, and then Power World became the conversation. Nobody was playing anything else. The game is $20 cheaper, and like at that point, there's no visibility for you. Yes, should Ubisoft keep marketing after the game comes out? Yes, but I do think that there's a part of that where it's like that game needed to be the conversation of January. And I don't think anybody expected Power to come out and become the behemoth that it was for like that month and a half or whatever that it was. So there's part of that's not Ubisoft's fault, but the rest of it is. And this sucks for that team because this was an amazing game that unfortunately is not going to probably get the recognition it deserves aside from, Game of the Year noms and stuff like that. But it won't get to continue on. Even if it does win Game of the Year noms and stuff, they've already decided to disband that team. So unfortunately, there's not going to be a Prince of Persia Lost Crown 2, which sucks.
And I can assure you it wouldn't win any Game of the Year awards or nominations.
Well, it'll win. It'll be in the conversation, right? It'll be in people's top 10s and stuff like that. I've seen people that still say it is still their Game of the Year or whatever. Obviously, this is before like Metaphor came out, so maybe once you get into the you start talking about everything that's come out in October and stuff that comes in November, okay, maybe you're like pushing it out at that point, but still. I think it sucks because this is Ubisoft's fault. As the guy that you always see on Twitter talking from Larian, he put it nicely. He said it's the hardest part is of making an 85 plus Metacritic game is actually making it. It's not what happens to it after it comes out. That's the easier part. And that's the part that's on the company and not the dev team. And it sucks that the dev team is being, I guess you couldn't say they're not being punished because thankfully nobody got laid off.
Right.
But we should be celebrating this. The company should be celebrating it, and they should be talking about how awesome this game was and building momentum for, now we're going to have 2 Prince of Persia things going, the remake and the next game of this. And now it's like, okay, well, look forward to the remake whenever it comes out in 2026, 2027. If anybody even cares about it still by then, sure.
You're forgetting the other Prince of Persia game they have going on. That's like an early
that Rogue
still.
one? What the?
Yeah.
Did anybody even care about that after it came out? Like, no.
That's the problem. I mean, Prince of Persia it's a kind of long-running series, but it's not a super impactful one for dudes under 30 or 40.
Mm-hmm.
Like
it's like that historic game when you talk about like, what this game did for game development, but not for.
Yeah, if you ask, I mean, forget your daughter, but if you even if you ask like a 20-year-old, like, have you ever heard of Prince of Persia? They're gonna go like, fuck no, like, what's that?
Yeah.
So, at least like something like Metroid, that's been fairly dormant over the past 20 years, 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Except for, I mean, they made the Prime games, but those weren't like quote unquote like traditional Metroid games.
Right.
But Samus has been in like every Smash Brothers game, so that has kept that character at least relatively popular.
And they've had the GBA games and other, their traditional Metroid.
Or even games. Like another good example is like Star Fox. Like, when was the last Star Fox game? Like,
right.
I mean, the Wii U, maybe.
But that was because of the failure of the last one, and where they said basically we're not going to do any more Star. It's almost it's got the F-Zero treatment of.
I'm saying though that Star Fox, like, that's another long-running franchise that's fairly not doing great. But most people like know it because of like, Smash Brothers or because of other ancillary stuff. Not just because of like.
If you didn't play games in the PS2, 360, GameCube era, you have no idea what Prince of Persia is. When those games were hot.
And even if you did, you're gonna look at this one and go, "What the fuck is this?" Like,
right, because it doesn't play like those games at all. Right?
Yeah. So It's a shame, but it's not totally unexpected. And again, it's the thing I keep thinking about is like Ubisoft doesn't want to give people what they want. People want
Right.
new Splinter Cell, and it's like, well, we're gonna make a new Ghost Recon game. It's like,
Yeah.
great.
I mean, technically, Splinter Cell is still in development, so
Yeah,
we'll
see
see
yeah,
when, if it comes out or whatever.
right.
But it's Ubisoft. What can you do? That's what they
Not
they
bothering
they
them.
have not been making good decisions for a while.
Yeah, and I saw they're trying to go back to being privately owned, or because they don't
Yeah,
want to do
we
with
talked about that
shareholders.
too,
Yeah,
and
but
it's
it's like
like, I don't
the
think that's going
people,
to save them.
the people who are trying to go private are the ones making these dumbass decisions in the first place. So that's
Yeah.
not. It's like great. You can really drive it into the ground then.
Well, the only reason they have to include the Guillemot family is because if everybody got crazy about Xbox owning Activision, if Tencent buys Ubisoft, that's gonna cause all the trade unions, or not all the commissions and all the FTC and all that, to the CMA, all them to go bonkers about that too.
I mean,
So.
it might, but the difference between Tencent and Microsoft, because Tencent doesn't have a console.
True, but Ubisoft is also like overvalued. So unless they start like lowering the value of what they feel Ubisoft is worth, maybe not. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. But all right. I guess let's go ahead and get into like the other, I guess, possibly sort of, I guess, topic of what could be the episode here. There was an article in the Washington Post where art director Roy Postma talked about having worked at Gorilla for 24 years, and he was asked about why are you not working on Killzone anymore, especially with Sony kind of having a loss of shooters that
Right.
they own, right? Especially now that Microsoft owns Call of Duty technically. He says that they were kind of done with Killzone. He talks about they wanted to start working on a series that was more colorful instead of the grittier, like brown gray of Killzone. And they just want to kind of move on to it was like 6 games. They had a novelization. So it was a lot of games for Killzone. After a certain point, it launched the PS4.
That's the thing, is I think he's partially right, but also that last Killzone, like the last big Killzone game, sucked, and no one cared. And
Right.
that was a lot more colorful, or wasn't just brown. I mean, that was like the futuristic. I just remember like a bunch of like skyboxes, or for some reason.
Yeah.
I didn't play it. I don't think you did either. I mean, I don't think anyone
No,
did.
I didn't.
So that's the real thing.
I think I might have some of these games on PS Plus, and
I think I might too, but it's like, I'm not gonna go play it, or
right.
Also it's a
honestly, I have a bigger care for Resistance than I do Killzone.
Sure, yeah, I agree. Yeah. Or Resistance at least had more going on at the time,
right?
But yeah, the only thing I know about Killzone is like the hell gas, like the dude in the stupid gas mask.
Yes.
It.
But do you think, like, okay, let's even bring that up. Like, even if they got a choice of the 3 franchises that people bring up the most, right, between Killzone, Resistance, and SOCOM, do you think that really helps them to bring one of those back and say, okay, we have our own shooter franchise?
Yeah, I actually think Resistance could come back. SOCOM is different because it's third person for one, but it's a lot. That game was really rooted back then in like not having like a microphone. It had like squad commands and shit like that. So that'd be a lot harder to like upgrade or update to like the modern landscape. I think Resistance would be fine if it's set it 20 years later and whatever stupid aliens come back or whatever, or hey, come up with something new. But that'd be fine also. But I think like Resistance is the one that didn't like get like a PS4 copy or PS,
Yeah, it ended at
So-
like with the PS3
Yeah,
and probably the
I guess
PSP.
between the three, I'd rather have Resistance, but
Yeah, me too.
I'm
But
not
you're right.
I'm not married to any of those personally, so I say bring back Jack and Daxter. God damn it!
Yeah, well, we know Naughty Dog's not going there. I
Right.
think Gorilla's at that point. I think Gorilla is at the point just like Naughty Dog was, where
Here's
yeah,
here's the actual thing. I would rather have. I mean, I know they're not doing it because they're doing that Ghost of Tsushima sequel. I want Sucker Punch to make a new Infamous game.
I've heard that as well. Like a lot of people talking about Infamous,
Or bring back Sly Cooper.
I
or
would be so happy with the new Sly. But
yeah,
that's the thing that I kind of wanted to get to as well. It's not just Killzone is sort of the one that was brought up, but it's about really, and we kind of saw this a little bit with oh god, what is the PSP game that they just announced? The Freedom Wars. Okay, Freedom Wars.
Yeah.
They licensed that out to Bandai
Right.
Namco to let them publish it. I guess Sony gets a piece, and then that studio that they made that has a lot of those older the former devs that are working on it. Should Sony start doing that with some of the dormant franchises that people
Sure.
want?
Yeah.
But like, why let them just sit there instead of, you don't have your own shooter. You have 3 franchises that have names, obviously varying degrees of what those names matter to people. Let somebody else take that and run with it, right? Same thing like you mentioned, Sly or Infamous, Jack and Daxter,
Jumping Flash, like make a VR game out of that.
Yeah, it's just, I would love to see Sony kind of. My Xbox has this problem too, right? They're starting to come back a little bit with it with some of them, but it's just like we've said it a bunch of times, and then Aaron Greenberg got made fun of because he made that joke, I guess, about nobody cares about Banjo, and it's like 3D platformers are kind of coming back in vogue a little bit. We're going to talk about another one that's going to get a remaster or whatever on PS5. Astrobot's doing hella numbers. We'll talk about that too in a little bit. It's like that stuff's coming back. People are liking it. And especially when you got Game Pass, when you got PS Plus that you can use as a way to go, here are the old games.
Right.
Play those. We're going to remaster or remake one of them. And then, y'all go out and buy it or whatever, and we'll make a new one. It's just frustrating when you have. I mean, I get everybody's favorite franchise can't get remade or redone or whatever, but it's like when you have franchises that are gaping holes in your own lineup, it's kind of weird that you don't go after doing that instead of this live service strategy of all these unknown games that are so old by the time they come out that
no one cares.
I know. I kind of understand Guerrilla in a way because obviously Horizon's been way more successful than Killzone ever was, but it kind of sucks to see.
Well, they aren't. I mean, they could have maybe not 2 full teams going, but have like one main team and then one smaller team.
Yeah.
And then when the big game is out, like Horizon 3 is out, then those people go back to work on the smaller game that's still plugging along.
Yeah.
Well,
now they got that Horizon Online game, so who knows how long and how much work that's going to take, I'm sure.
And how dumb and stupid and a failure and everything else.
I don't want to count it out yet because it does possibly have a cool hook. People like those robot dinosaurs or whatever. It's just.
But I think even the game, how they reduced the scope of that from Horizon 1 to Horizon 2 speaks kind of volumes about I think they want to be much more of you're hunting humans or it's just you against other people.
It's also crazy. I forgot that game also comes out on the 31st of remaster.
Yeah.
So, but it's going to be interesting that I think the Lego Horizon is going to be interesting as far as like, does that grab the kids? Does that sell whatever they expect it to sell? I wonder what the expectations are for that for Gorilla and for.
I think it'll do kind of okay, but it won't be as big as like their other games. But
right now, because I mean the franchise is big, but not that big.
Yeah, I don't think it actually needs to either, though. So
yeah,
because it probably, I mean, even if it loses money, they're seeing it as a way to get people interested in the Horizon franchise itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Not, so
I mean, I don't know how many Switch owners are going to go just buy a PS5 to play that, or I guess they could get it on PC, but still.
All of them, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Horizon's rich story.
That's what's gonna get them.
Yeah.
Is that. So moving on from that, got some more bad news. It's bad news for the people working on the game. It's interesting news for the fact of like, I think we talked about this when they had originally announced it, is Netflix. Remember when they announced that they were making a AAA game?
Yeah.
Mark, in October of 2022. And Chaco Sony, who was formerly involved with Overwatch, and then they brought in Joseph Staten as well in April of 2023. And then they hired Raf Grassetti, who did art for Sony Santa Monica and God of War. And then October 2024, 2 years from when it was announced, they have now killed the game. The game is canceled.
Right.
What do you I mean, they're still doing the mobile stuff or whatever, but obviously it's a lot different to do mobile than it is to do the big AAA game. I think they're realizing that. Do you think that this means Netflix's like just gaming in general is kind of numbered, or they just won't make that caliber of game anymore? Like,
I think both. I think like they may make like one or two small games based on, or mobile games based on, Stranger Things or Squid Game or something, but they're not going to make any AAA game. And also, how can they? Like that's kind of like, I think looking back at it, like the idea of them making a AAA game is kind of nuts because they don't want to put out like standalone products.
right.
They want you to always be like with like in the service. So it's going to be like, fucking what's that game? Majestic, back 30 years ago or 25 years ago when you had to sign up for that, and EA would call you every month to say, hey, we got 10 more minutes of content for you, here you go.
Yeah, it also is like it gives me the same reminder of Google when they had their game in development and then they canceled it,
Right.
and then killed all the studios that were making games for Stadia that were Stadia only games. Right, the only ones that kind of came out were like the indie games.
Right. Like I thought it was. I don't know if you. I mean, I don't know how plugged in you are about like the entertainment stuff, but there was some story I think like last week or within the past week about Daniel Craig telling the CEO of Netflix, like, "Hey, your model's fucked." Like, and it's like, "Hey, I agree because I can't buy a copy of Glass Onion on DVD. Like, if I want to watch that movie again, I got two options. Sign up for Netflix, which seems dumb, or bootleg it, or find there's a few like DVD screeners out there on eBay that are way too expensive now. So
yeah, and it's that the thing is too, it's like if it's a AAA game, it's not something you're going to play on mobile for AAA. You need that to be on TVs and PC. And like, how are you going to make that work? You're going to play it with a phone. Are you going to let people Bluetooth their controllers? There was that thing that they had it's still like, I feel like in beta that they were going to start putting games on the TV app. And I do see them when I go on my TV on the app, but like they're hidden there. And it's just like, you're not really promoting this stuff. It feels like, I get it's an extra thing, but Netflix is so ubiquitous and then also not ubiquitous at the same time that they keep raising the price, where it's getting to the point where people, where it's like, I don't know, man. You're starting to teeter that line where it's like, y'all get to 40, I think I'm out. Like, y'all get to the point where it costs me $40 to continue in the tier that I'm in. I may just, even with Raw for WWE coming pretty soon, I may just be like, that's it. I'm sorry. But $40 for one service is ridiculous. That honestly, I don't use that much. If it wasn't for family that do watch it more than I do, I probably wouldn't have it. If I was, just me and my daughter, I would tell her, "Hey, I'm sorry, but this costs way too much. I'm canceling it, and we're moving on." And
you're getting Prime Video, or because at least you get Prime shipping as well. So
yeah, that too. I mean, that's the thing, right? You get that, and then it's like, and Amazon actually has some good, decent shows. We're going to talk about one at the end of the show here, but I think the thing too is, like, even Amazon realized that, right? Like, they just released the New World Eternum, put it on consoles. That seemed to be doing decently well, but their other game, like, did terribly. It's not like they're going gung ho on releasing games. They are going gung ho on putting free games out there all the time for the Amazon Prime thing. It feels like they're just giving away games constantly, especially this month.
But they actually messed it up a few months ago with the Twitch Prime loot thing.
Yeah,
because you used to also get content for games.
Right.
Like, oh, here's a Call of Duty skin, or here's a Diablo 4 cosmetic and crap like that. That's all gone now. The only thing they have is tied into Lost Ark, because they make it or they publish it, so that's why.
Yeah.
But everything, all that other stuff is gone. And I read up because I used to get a few things from that. Like, it was like Hearthstone card packs and crap like that. And when like a few months ago, I looked and I was like, there was like nothing there, and I'm like, what happened? And I looked it up, and I was like, yes, and developers just like, yeah, they didn't want to renew the contract. And it's like, that seems dumb, because I mean, I can't imagine that'd be like that expensive. And it was also like a nice little benefit, because I'm not gonna like, yeah, they keep adding games, but it's all in crap on like the GOG launcher or Epic. Nothing's on Steam, so
Right.
forget
Well,
me.
yeah, they don't want to have to deal with Steam's, their whole mess as well. So, but all right, moving on from that here, let's talk about some sales data really quick here. September 2024 sales data. EA Sports FC 25 led the month, as you would expect. That's not a surprise. But what is, I guess, a surprise is how high Astrobot is. We don't have concrete sales numbers. I don't know why Sony, I guess, is waiting for their I guess Sony's just waiting for their stock thing that they do or whatever, but at least for Astrobot to be number 2, when people were like dooming and glooming it for a while, it felt like, because there was some low numbers out of Japan that they were getting. But for Astrobot to beat a Legend of Zelda game, even though, yes, it's not like a super high Legend of Zelda game, and to beat
it's a
out,
spinoff, right?
Yeah, but it's still Zelda, right? And then it pushed out Madden as well to beat that and go number 2. That's pretty awesome. So congrats to Team Asobi on that, which they released the next DLC pack as well. So y'all go play that if you haven't already. The speed run and the next speed run level. Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom is number 4. You get College Football 25 finally gets knocked down some to number 5. Star Wars Outlaw still hanging in there at 6. Then you get NBA 2K25, which I'm sure is still going to be around. Hogwarts Legacy is still there at number 8, incredibly. NHL 25 is at 9, and God of War Ragnarok, buoyed by the release on PC, hit number 10, and the Dead Rising remaster helped hit Dead Rising all the way up to 11. So, and Final Fantasy 16 right up there too at 12. So, yeah. Some interesting numbers there. I did mention College Football 25, just because it's still the #1 best-selling game of the entire year, and it has now become the best-selling football game ever, beating Madden 07. So people really miss their college football, Mark.
Bigger than Blitz the League.
Yeah, I mean, it tells you something that what would happen if Madden could take a year off? How much more would
Right.
this sales numbers be if they could take that time off and really enhance the game there? But I think that's it for like the sort of major stories. I have some. Oh, there's one more. I'm sorry, forgot about that. This was an interesting one. I thought it kind of would hit for you, Navy, because of the you buy things, you still buy things physical, and you like retro. You do more retro stuff than I do.
Right.
There's been this fight going on between the Video Game History Foundation, using the Software Preservation Network and the U.S. Copyright Office for a while. And it's to allow remote access for libraries, to allow you to rent a game digitally, which you can now do with books, right? Or CDs or music or basically any other thing you can do with movies as well. But with games, this has been a fight between the developers, publishers, the ESA, and the Video Game History Foundation. And the U.S. Copyright Office has declared that they cannot give remote access. Libraries, archives, and all that cannot give remote access to games because it would violate the single user limitation and also be used for recreational use instead of research use, which essentially translates to people are not going to buy the game. They're just going to rent it from the library.
Right.
So,
I gotta do a deep. I'm not gonna play Madden 98 for fun. I'm gonna play it for my research paper.
Yeah, but like this is video games. Who cares?
I can kind of I see both sides of the argument. Like for the anti-piracy side, it's like, well, you're not like renting an NES, like it is emulation basically. And yeah, they're not. People aren't. How many people and who want to do research on a game don't already have it. None really, because people who are into preservation stuff like this have already had like the library or the games as what that they care about.
Right, but whether it's physically or by other means. Yes, you're correct.
Right. But on the other side, like, yeah, kind of who cares? Like if last week, this isn't quite preservation, but like last week I saw a game that a store is selling, an old PC game I've wanted for 20 years, called No One Lives Forever. Remember that?
Yeah, I feel like I know that.
And it was the big box PC version with the sound, with like some weird soundtrack CD, which I didn't even know was possible, for $15. And by the time I already saw it, someone already like bought it, which still ticks me off. Because I saw it like a half hour later. So someone bought it in that half hour.
Right.
But like that's a game, that's like one of those like lost games that because of the rights issues isn't on GOG and isn't anywhere. I mean, you can it's like on abandonware sites and shit like that. But people should like I don't quite buy the ESA's argument like, oh, what if EA is gonna what's like an obscure like they have EA has like a ton of obscure franchises, but they're not gonna bring it back.
Right.
Or a good example is, I was looking it up just a few minutes ago. Remember Backbreaker?
Yes, Backbreaker.
Like, yeah, what is 505 games gonna bring that back? No. Like, so
basically they want to be able to, if any game catches fire,
right,
they want to remaster it they don't want to have to deal with people being like, oh, I'm just going to go rent that from my library or whatever, which, let's be honest here. How many people even know that you can rent games from your library? How many people are going to go through that? I mean, yes, you can, right? I mean, a lot of libraries do it. I've seen a lot of people go and just get physical copies of a bunch of different games and they just have them there, right? But that's very few and far between. People still will go and buy that game, whether it's digitally or physically. The thing is, it's just like the whole fight of between emulation. To me, it's like you're really getting a very small amount of people that most of the time are not going to buy the remaster of that game anyway, to prevent them from playing a game, or a parent that wants to show their a kid this old PS2 game that you can't buy anymore, right? It's like we're talking about games that are not available for sale. We're not talking about games that you can buy on the PSN or Xbox or Nintendo Switch right now. We're talking about games that are not available for sale. What does it hurt you to allow remote access? And if you're still going to do it where it has to be checked out by a certain amount of time, what's the difference? It's like, to me, it's like, who cares? Oh, they're going to enjoy it. That's the whole point. It's a video game.
Well, a good example. Another good example is American McGee's Alice.
Yeah,
like too. I think the only way you might be able to play that game, like legally, assuming you already have a copy, is like the PS3 version of Madness Returns. If you bought the DLC for that.
Yeah, but doesn't also like the PC version? You can buy the original or had it included.
It ain't on GOG and it ain't on Steam. So
right, they took it off, right? I remember us talking about them delisting it from stores.
So what? So it's like, okay, you can't let me download it from the library, but you're not selling it. So what's my option here? Like,
yeah, it's going to be piracy, and then you're going to get mad at people. Well, the only people that really get mad about it is Nintendo, but still, even Nintendo. You want to complain about people emulating your games. Now, I get it. What they really care about the most, they do care about their old games getting emulated, but what they care about the most is people that are emulating Switch games, obviously.
Right.
Which they shouldn't be, but it is what it is. Not getting into that. But this is a thing that I'm glad to hear the Video Game History Foundation is not finished. That they're going to keep fighting this. It feels like a losing battle, obviously, but it just sucks that, number one, the ESA is only there to help the publishers and not actually.
Yeah, they're not a consumer advocacy group. They're a company advocacy group. So
even governmental, they lobby for the government. They give the government money for that stuff too. It's just like, it sucks that there's nobody on the other side fighting for the consumer when it comes to video games like that. It sucks. I don't know if there ever will, or there will be it would have to be perhaps our generation, for more of our generation getting into government, perhaps, that would make this a bigger deal. Like more AOCs and people that care about games.
Right.
Even Tim Waltz, who we saw playing Crazy Taxi.
But the bad version. So hopefully when he gets into office, he'll be like, "I need Offspring back in Crazy Taxi, goddammit."
Right. But yeah, so the rest of the stuff is like some quick hits here, so we don't have to spend a lot of time on it. But Monster Hunter Wilds is having a beta right now. Yep. If you have PS Plus, and then on Halloween on the 31st, you can do an open beta, which you can do as long as, I don't think you even have to pre-order the game. I think it's just open for everybody. Any interest in this at all?
Nope. If
same here.
Play, go ahead. Yeah.
But I know a lot of people that are going to be excited about this, but same here. Croc is going to be exclusive to GOG on PC, and it's going to have the original version. This is something else for me too, that I feel like if you're going to do a remaster or remake, I feel like unless it's obviously a license problem and you can't do it, I think like the original should be included.
We all know how big the Croc franchise is.
So, hey, it's gaining steam. There's people that are excited for this. I mean, obviously, it's a very small number, but still,
Right.
So cool to know that you're gonna get the original if you get it on PC, on GOG, which means you'll own it. And then it's also coming to regular Steam, and all the consoles as well, which is cool for Croc. Yooka Replay is also coming. PS5, Xbox Series, and Nintendo platforms. It'll be on the Switch and Switch 2, supposedly. It's gonna basically like an HD remaster of Yooka-Laylee. I remember liking this game when it came out. I remember Randy being a big fan of this game. So, did you ever play Yooka-Laylee? No.
No, it got like really mixed reviews. I don't remember that.
Right. I'm glad to see that it's getting remastered.
Yeah. I also feel like the big spiritual sequel to like Banjo-Kazooie. That's like, well,
yes, that too. It had a lot of the former devs.
Like, I mean, it wasn't as bad as like the Mighty Number 9 fiasco, but
right.
There's
gonna be a Warcraft 30th anniversary stream on November 13th. It's gonna be 10 a.m. Pacific, which means 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT, all that. And there's also a 20th. There's going to be a 20th anniversary World of Warcraft concert right after it too. Do you expect any big surprises? Like, what do you think they could show with this? That would be a.
They're probably going to say "fuck it" in the galaxy of StarCraft. No, they'll probably just show like, oh, here's like a preview of the new expansion, or here are some ideas that we thought about that didn't come to fruition, but nothing big.
I should also mention that I finished reading that Play Nice book,
right?
Which is behind me there. If you're watching on video, it's really good. I think even if you're not a Blizzard fan, if you like video game history, I think it's great for that. It goes through the entire history of Blizzard, and you get the behind the scenes stuff with that too. So it's not just like an oral. It's not just like reading a history book of Blizzard or whatever. You get the interviews from over like 300 different Blizzard employees, and then you get other outside people from the industry itself talking about various parts of Blizzard's tenure, all the way through the Activision stuff, what happened with the whole lawsuit, all of that. So up until right now, even up until now, with the whole uncertainty between Microsoft owning them and what's going to happen with that, and them canceling that survival game and everything else. So it's pretty far reaching. And then Jason Schreier does a great job of just telling a good story in this book. So I think if you like video game history, if you like Blizzard, if you want to know what happened to some of your favorite Blizzard employees that no longer work there and what happened to them, that's all in that book. And it's a really interesting read. I felt like for the 360 pages that it was. So I would go check it out. I give it a big recommendation there for video game book readers on that end. But one last thing, and this will lead into our last topic that we're going to do here for the show. Yakuza Kiwami it just came out a few days ago on the 24th on Switch, and it's selling well. It's selling like crazy, according to a dev that talked about the game. He says, "I'm really glad. They've been making sales predictions for this, but they were way off, and it's selling, I think, way better than they expected. And it's been out for a while. It came out on PS3 and PS4 in 2016, then PC in 2019, Xbox 2020, and then Luna on 2022, and then finally, many years later, almost 8 years later, on Switch." Remember I think we talked about one of the devs talked about they had that whole thing about, the Switch is for kids, so we'll never release it on there.
Yeah.
And then what do you know? They released it on Switch, and bam, it sells well. Also, in conjunction with this, they released the first 3 episodes of that Yakuza Like a Dragon Yakuza series, which is a live action with Japanese actors show on Amazon. You can go watch it right now if you want. And they're going to release the other 3 on Halloween on the 31st. So it's a 6-episode season 1. Well, you have more history with the series than I do.
Yeah,
what do
I've
you
only
think?
watched. I've only watched the first 2 episodes. I just got to watch
Okay.
the third one. I think it's okay. Not a ton of fighting except for like the one fight initially
Right.
on the first episode. They're spending a lot of time with the backstory though, and I guess it is
There
kind
is
of
a
important.
lot of backstory to that series.
Yeah, I think the problem with like the whole idea of the show or the problem is it's going to run into is like how long is this thing actually going to run? Because I got it 6 episodes, and it's like unless this is going to be like a 7 series or season show, like they could pick up the pace a little quicker. So Jens talked about it with me like last night because I'll read you some of his thoughts. He said like he loves how it looks and like the feel of the world, and like it does have like some good locations. Like they recreate some locations from the show.
Yeah, like that when they first enter in the Kamurocho, it does feel like it, right? You can see they have the big sign and all that,
and he likes the serious melodrama aspect of it so far,
right?
But he didn't like the narrative changes, or like how they changed his adopted father and him like Kiryu wanted to be a Yakuza member, and he said like it has too few episodes. Like he's like if it was 9 to 12 episodes, it'd be a lot better, like more room to breathe. But because there's only 6, to kind of like really got to speed it along.
Right.
So
for people that are not like that are watching it, because I saw some, I had Scott, Sis Scott, who's been on the show before, works with Outer Haven with me. He said that he's kind of mixed on it as well, kind of like Jens, but his wife, who's not a Yakuza fan at all, she enjoyed it for what it is, as a show. For the people that don't know the history of Like a Dragon, then maybe watching it because it's a show and they're saying, okay, this is my like entry point, or this gets them to buy one of the games or something. What is it that's like the big change, I guess, from Kiryu?
He has slightly different motivation in the game to becoming a Yakuza, I think. Like there's not that whole like there's not that whole like heist in the beginning,
right?
Or he didn't join to. I think he did join to save his adopted father, maybe, or I forget why he joined. I think like him and his Nishima just kind of joined because they had like nothing else going on. I might be wrong. I mean, it's been a while since I played Yakuza 0. So
well, they still have like Kiryu still goes to jail for a murder that he didn't commit, which is
right.
That whole basis for the story of where he's part of the clan, then he gets taken out while he's in jail, then he has to be brought back in because of the stuff that happens with the storyline. That main storyline is from the game. The thing about the $10 billion.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yep, that's from. I want to say Yakuza 1.
Well, that's the whole point. Is like they're starting at Yakuza 1. They're not starting at Yakuza 0. So it feels like that's why Kiwami got put out on Switch the same day. It feels like is because they're starting with that story. I think they do. I think they do kind of get across some of the characters. Like you do get Majima in here, and they do a pretty good job of.
I only saw he was only in the 2nd episode, and I thought it was kind of funny that their whole again, it depends on how many seasons they do of the show, but like if their whole battle or rivalry is just because like he wasn't proper or he wasn't respectful when he passed him in the hallway, like that'd be hilarious to me. But it's not goofy. It's not like the Yakuza usual bullshit. Like there's no like as far as I know, there's no karaoke. There's no like Yakuza men in diapers or acting like babies.
Yeah, there's no funny crazy stuff. It's all you do get the was it the soap? What do they call it? Where they have the soap land stuff. You do get that where but that's done more of in a like I do appreciate like the personal things, right? Like the the way they made it more family oriented, sort of, where it's like the Nishiki is sort of almost like his like adopted brother, and then you have the two sisters, sort of, and they're all
That
kind of like together with each other.
I don't think the sisters were like that much, or the two
Yeah,
women were like
that's
that.
not really from what I remember. It's not really that much in the game. There is a Yumi in the game, right? But that's a different motivation. That's sort of like the what they do with Aiko, where she has the daughter that supposedly gets taken, so which that's what the basis of that whole story is in one, with the kid that gets taken, and then Kiryu's over there trying to protect
her. Are you watching it dubbed or subbed?
I tried watching it subbed for a while, and then I just kind of got tired of like reading, and I was like, you know what, the dub's not that bad. I'm just gonna watch it dubbed.
So I'm watching it both with the dubs and subs on, and there was one funny dubbing moment in the second episode when they're in the club, and one of the guys called it Sarina, and I was like, what? like there's an E in there you missed. Like, it's not Sarina, it would be Serena. Like, okay. Like, and I'm really glad that I mean, he's doing the VO for it now, which is not great, but that Yang Yi guy isn't like doing the dubbing for Kiryu, because he's very bland.
What do you think of the dub like overall? I thought it was fine, like
except for like the Sarina bit. I think it's okay. I mean, it's different from the subbing, but it's fine.
It's to me it's difficult because it's not the original. It's not the game characters doing the subbing either, right? It's
Jens didn't like that. He said the main actor isn't as charismatic as like Kiryu should be.
Yeah, that jumped off to me too. It's like,
and I was like, yeah, but the only way you would accept that is if like they got the voice actor to be Kiryu and he was 30 years younger. It's like, that's not going to happen.
It's like he has that voice, man, that you're just so used to, and it's like it made it difficult for me to watch. I had to flip it to Japanese in playing Infinite Wealth because it's just that voice with Kiryu. That's what you've been used to for all these years, you know. And Yang Yi, I don't think Yang Yi is not that bad. I feel like I think people made it.
I think he is bad in that role because he's like a very kind of wooden guy, or like wooden, like his voice is kind of wooden. Like, I don't think, like, for other stuff he's fine, but I just think I think Kiryu is a little more like emotional in some spots, and he can't quite hit that. But I got no problem with him personally. It's just like I don't think he's good for that specific role. Like, I think they got the guy they got for the English guy they got for the other guy's like way better.
For Ichiban, he's perfect. That's Ichiban is, I have to do it in English because I'm so used to from the first Like a Dragon of that's just his voice, you know. He does it really well, and all the other characters as well. They got those kind of spot on too. So, but yeah, you know, there's 3 more episodes of this left. Let's see. Is there anything like you're hoping you get to see from the games that they haven't shown yet in these last 3? Or
that'll be Majima jumping out of a big traffic cone to jump Kiryu.
I want to see some goofy stuff. I want to see, do they ever go there? Right? Is it always serious, or once they have the setup, which after episode 3, which you haven't seen yet, they do have a lot more setup done there. So I wonder if through 4 through 6 we're gonna get some of the. I feel like you can't have that show if it's going to be all of the serious parts of it. Like, you got to have some funny things, aside from just like, oh, Majima's freaking crazy, dude. Like, you got to have something in there. They mix in there, and they do have some funny things with some of the characters, but it's like you're not getting the like totally out of their bonkers stuff that you get in the games. So.
There should be like an episode where it's just you hanging out at the remote control or the pocket racer track, and befriending that dude or something. You know, it's stupid. Like that.
We gotta have Kiryu go play some, you know,
baseball.
the gotcha machine or something. Or
Yeah,
You
it's
got to have
funny,
karaoke in there somewhere. You know?
there was a scene early in the second episode when the two sisters, well, they're not sisters, but they're just, the two girls. It's like the flashback where the one girl is in the bed with her bear, like holding it up and down, or like,
Yeah.
kind of playing with it. It should have been a scene of like carry you into the bear for or something like that.
Yeah. But
But
yeah, the dramatic moments are done well. It's like I think people that are expecting I don't think this show was ever going to have crazy over the top action, like
right.
like the games. So I wonder if they'll ever show like some kind of flaming kick or something ever, or it's always going to be like that.
I doubt it's a third episode. I doubt it happened in the third one, but I'm waiting for the scene where he just rips off his jacket and shirt all in one move.
Yeah. Yeah.
Show the tattoo.
I feel like that's coming, so they can show
the
the dragon. So, but all right. I think that's it for this episode here. What's coming up? We already talked about the big one, or some of the like more known games that are coming here on this Halloween or Halloween week, which enjoy that if you're celebrating. Obviously Dragon Age Veilguard is the biggest game for this week, no doubt, no duh. That's why we talked about the critic reviews. But also, the game I talked about that I'm reviewing, Shadows of the Damned Remastered. And again, it's cheap. It's there for $30. If you liked that game originally back in the day and you wanted to give it another whirl, it's worth spending that money on it. I feel like, so give that a look if you're still looking for something, even though I feel like with everything that's come out so far this month, you got to have something already that you're playing. But if not, there's some other things too. You got Red Dead Redemption coming out on PC as well. Phasmophobia coming out on PS5 and series. You got Life is Strange Double Exposure also coming, which that has had some tepid reviews as well.
Yeah.
Clock Tower Rewind also coming, which I'm interested to see how that does. The Horizon Zero Dawn remaster as well that I talked about. So quite a lot coming here at the end of the month. And that Castlevania Vampire Survivors DLC, which is the first game to ever have all of the Castlevania crew in one game. And it's not a Castlevania game. So interesting there. But yeah, it'll officially be November the next time we do an episode. We're getting to that end of the year, Mark.
Yep. So, we gotta start hammering out our list.
Hammering a list, start coming up with the games you still want to check out. We'll be talking about Game Awards pretty soon, and then all that stuff. So, all right, enjoy your Halloween, everybody. Like, subscribe, follow, all that. We do appreciate everybody that whether you watch live, watch later, listen later, and see you later.
Later.